6 months ago, I reviewed the Moza Mini Me, which is a gimbal designed specifically for your smartphone. And overall, I was pretty impressed with how this gimbal performed and the overall usability of it. There were one or two aspects of it, however, that I found to be problematic. However, I have now been sent the Moza Mini S. So, does this improve over the Mini Me? The first thing to note is that packed down, the Mini S is considerably smaller than the Mini Me, which is ideal for when you're trying to transport this thing around. Then there's a little lock switch on the side that you just unlock and rotate the top of the head around, and then this arm unlocks as well. Now the overall controls are basically the same with a few subtle differences. Both of them have a joystick to actually control the head of the gimbal with. The Mini Me had a rotatable wheel with push buttons on the side, whereas the Mini S has done away with the rotatable wheel and now just has the buttons. And I found the Mini S's lack of a wheel to actually be a positive. The Mini Me, that wheel had two purposes. One, you could use it to scroll up and down menus, and two, you would use it to make your phone zoom in and out. However, with the menus, what I would sometimes find is that as I'm rotating the wheel to try and move up and down a menu, I'd actually kind of catch the button and end up entering or exiting a menu when I didn't want to. And with the zoom, it's quite nice to have the zoom wheel to be able to zoom in and out more cinematically. However, because there's all these little clicks as you rotate the wheel, you never get a smooth zoom. You always get a very fast stuttering effect. The Mini S has replaced it with a tele to wide rocker switch like you'd find on a lot of camcorders or power zoom lenses. And inside the app, it allows you to customize how slow or fast the zoom takes effect, whether you want it to be very fast or very slow and cinematic. Another difference is the charger. So the Mini Me used a micro USB port located on the back at the very bottom, whereas the Mini S has gone for a USB-C on the side just below the power switch. And since USB-C is basically becoming the new standard, kind of makes sense. Now, both of these gimbals offer the ability to charge your phones whilst you're using them, which was something about the Mini Me I was quite impressed with, but there were some criticisms. Now, it would appear that those criticisms have been addressed with the Mini S, but then the positives have also taken a step backwards. The Mini Me has a USB port on the bottom that allows you to run a USB cable straight into your phone to provide power. The negative is that when you have your phone in the holder, your phone has to go this way round because the camera needs to sit here in order to see past the gimbal, but on all phones the charging port is at the bottom, which means that it's then crashing into this pivot point here. So the only way around it is to then have to move your phone way over on the gimbal to get the cable in, and then it just unbalances your gimbal and causes a headache. But that could be offset because this holder is actually a wireless charging pad. So if your phone had wireless charging, which mine doesn't, you can just charge your phone without any cables. Positive. The Mini S has half solved this problem because the holder now doesn't sit entirely perpendicular to the rest of the arm. It actually sits slightly angled back. So with the phone on the gimbal now, there's actually clear access to the USB port. Bonus. The drawbacks, however, it still has a USB port, but they've changed it from a USB-A to a micro USB, which that for me is a strange choice. Why go from a USB-A to a micro USB when the power charge has gone to USB-C? It would have been better for this to be a C port as well, because now for me to try and power my phone in this gimbal, I would need a micro USB to USB-C cable, or I would need a micro USB to USB-A adapter and then a normal cable, and it's just overcomplicated. And this doesn't have the wireless charging either. Now the usability of these two is fairly similar because they're both controlled through the Moza Genie app, and they both use the exact same app that appears in the same way, so there's no real differences there. The Genie app has changed in the last 6 months since I reviewed the Mini Me, because at the time I noted that whenever I tried to access the 4K resolution in the app would just crash and then I'd have to restart it, and I could never get 4K recording. But that wasn't an issue with the gimbal, that was an issue with the app or my phone or compatibility between the two. Well, the good news is that issue has been resolved. So now on both of these gimbals, I can access all of the features with no problems at all. There's also been some subtle changes to the Genie app which are positives as well. The notable one for me is the addition of subject tracking. So for subject tracking, you click on the tracking icon and you can then pinch and drag a box over the area that you want to remain focused on. And then as you move, the gimbal will move to try and keep the subject in the same part of the frame. However, what I found is that the subject tracking is not the most reliable. Even though the box is still over the subject, the gimbal doesn't always move to keep the subject in the same part of the frame. Or sometimes it will just randomly jump to a different object and start tracking that. So it's not a completely 100% proof system, but when it does work, it seems to work really, really well. My only other complaint about the Genie app, which is something that I hope Moza would change in the future, is with both of these gimbals, you can set different shooting modes. However, the user friendliness of how to get to them I found to be a bit poor. So if I go through the user handbook of the Mini S, if you want to get into sport mode, which is another mode that this has, then you double press the down button. If you want to get into inception mode, you have to triple press the down button. If you want to switch the roll follow on or off, then you have to press the left button. If you want to switch the all lock on or off, then you double press and hold the trigger button on the back. And the booklet has no mention that I can see of how to get the yaw or roll on or off, which is useful. Trying to remember how to change the follow modes on these gimbals is like when I used to have the PlayStation 1 and trying to remember cheat code combinations. You know, oh, you've got to press up, down, triple tap square, throw the controller over your head and sing Hallelujah. And it's kind of ridiculous because the whole point of these is you're using your smartphone. Your smartphone gives you touch control capabilities. All of the settings menus that you can access using these buttons, you can access through the phone just by tapping the screen. But there's no ability to change the lock features. It shows you on the screen what setup, what combination you have, but you can't change them through the app. They have to be done through the gimbal, and the setup for doing them on the gimbal is absurd. It'd just be so much easier if you could just tap on the screen and see it all in front of you and just pick which one you want. Who knows, hopefully in the future, that'll be an addition. Now, I mentioned the sport mode earlier, which is something that's only available on the Mini S. I don't believe it's available on the Mini Me. And this allows for very fast tracking, very fast panning, i.e. if you're trying to track very fast subjects like in sport, it allows you to keep up with them. It's also very good for doing jump transitions between different scenes if you want to do that. I also mentioned the Inception mode, which is unique to Moza gimbals. And it's quite a niche thing. You would very rarely use it, I imagine, but it is quite a cool shooting mode. Unfortunately, on the Mini S, they seem to have taken a step backwards with it. And you can do a full barrel roll rotation. So the idea is as you're walking in a straight line, you can make the camera do a full barrel roll. You get that really crazy Inception look, hence the name. However, unfortunately, on the Mini S, you can't do a full 360-degree rotation. Now, in terms of pricing, the Mini S on Amazon UK is currently £89 versus the Mini Me being slightly more at £97. And overall, I think the Mini S is arguably the slightly better gimbal. It refines some of the issues of the Mini Me. Most notable for me is the fact that you can pack this thing down. It makes it just so much easier to throw in your bag and take with you, whereas the Mini Me could sometimes be a bit cumbersome. But a few negatives as well. I don't think the removal of the wireless charging is that big a negative, all things considered. Quite a lot of phones out there don't even have wireless charging, and having the charging pad on there is just going to ramp up the cost. So the USB option is a better choice, and the redesign of this bracket to let you get access to the USB port is a bonus. However, the choice of USB port on the bottom is just baffling. That for me should either be a Type A, so everyone can use the normal cables that they've already got, or a Type C, the same as the normal charger, because Type C is probably where the future is going to be lying. Going for micro just seems obscure. But now, Rusty's choice. Which do you think, Rust? Mini S, Mini Me? Which one? Come on. I don't think he cares. Okay, which would be your choice? Mini S or Mini Me? Leave your thoughts and comments in the box down below. Thank you so much for stopping by, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.